For the past couple of weeks, the same-sex marriage has become legal in Indiana. In the last week, a group of Catholic bishops has released a working document which suggests the church may soften its stance on gay parishioners and divorced Catholics who have remarried. Talk about some of the changes underway. We have Bishop Dale Melczek. Bishop, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you. Good to be here.
So it seems to be a debate over whether the church is looking at changing its stance on some key social issues. Are we seeing a change here, or are we just seeing kind of a softening of the language coming out of Rome?
Well, I think we're seeing the effects. You talk about the Pope Francis effect, and we're talking about the effects that the Pope has had in the months that he has been, maybe almost a year and a half since he's been Pope. And he's really looking for a change in tone, a change in attitude. He challenges all of us who are church, that's all of the baptized, to share God's love with others, and he challenges us to go to the peripheries. And so everything we do, I think, is to have a different tone, a tone of welcome, a tone of acceptance, and I think that's a lot of what we're seeing here.
But is this a real fundamental change for the church? Over the last couple of days, we've heard a lot of people saying that this synod that's happening in Rome, that this really represents a shift in Catholic doctrine. Does it? Is this, if you're somebody who is gay, are you going to see a very different Catholic church in the next year?
You're going to see a church like we're supposed to have been all along, and that is a more welcoming, compassionate, understanding church. Our understanding of marriage can't change because we believe that God instituted marriage as a permanent covenant between a man and a woman, ordered to the good of the married couple and to the procreation and education of children. So that isn't going to change. But we've always said, whether gay or straight, we are all children of God. We're all created in the image of and likeness of God, and we need to respect and love one another.
In Indiana, it's more than just a welcoming stance. They've legalized same-sex marriage in the state of Indiana. What has been your reaction so far?
Well, we would maintain that whatever the civic society says can affect our doctrine. And so you won't be seeing the Catholic Church witnessing the marriage of gay couples because, as I just mentioned, our stance on what marriage is, not dependent upon the state, it's not dependent upon the church institution or any others. We firmly believe that this is instituted by God, and we must respect that.
If you're that same-sex couple, you're two men, you're married legally in the state of Indiana, and you arrive at a parish in Gary, what's going to be the reaction?
Well, I would hope it would be very welcoming. We welcome everyone to church and into the parish, and we hope that they would feel welcome and not discriminated against in any way.
There are many things. Church is all about family. Many things done with couples and with children. Will they be represented fully in the Catholic Church now that this is legal in Indiana?
Well, the fact that it has become legal in Indiana isn't going to have any bearing on the church. We welcome them as children of God. We welcome them as our brothers and sisters, and we would love for their participation in the parish and their involvement in the parish. But if they are living sexually as a couple, then we wouldn't anticipate that they would be receiving Holy Communion.
Won't receive Holy Communion.
Right.
Is this the Catholic Church's version of don't ask, don't tell?
No, I don't think so. I mean, whatever anybody has done, they're welcome to share that. But our stance is that you cannot receive the sacrament of the Eucharist if you're living in a situation that's not condoned by the church.
All right. So they won't be fully recognized the way a couple,
well, they're recognized
heterosexual couple would
as exactly. They won't be recognized in the church as living a sacrament of marriage, for example.
I normally don't do a lot on church doctrine, but this became international news here with the Synod meeting at the Vatican. And there's a lot of talk that there could be a real change in the relationship between divorced Catholics and the church. What do you see happening there?
Well, I think we need to understand that this synod is an extraordinary synod which is discussing a pastoral outreach to people who are married, to families, and it is in anticipation of another synod to be held in Rome next October. And they'll take, as it were, the gist of this synod and discuss it further. Now, what's being debated now is there some way that a couple that is married but not married in the church because there's a prior marriage, and that prior marriage was not annulled. Is there some way, in some circumstances, some couples in that situation might be able to be extended the Holy Eucharist? That is still being debated. I think what we're looking at is, in an individual circumstance, might that be possible? That's what the debate's about right now.
That's what the debate is right now. So give me a sense. Is this going to be a very different Catholic Church? Do you think this is a necessary change for the Church?
Well, the Church, in terms of its doctrine, isn't going to change. We feel that the truth is the truth, and we cannot change that in regard to any of our doctrines. But our tone, our welcoming, our approach to things, the way doctrines are presented could well be changed a bit. Again, not the substance of the doctrine, but the way it's addressed.
Did you feel that you were losing Catholics?
Well, I think the statistics are pretty clear that organized religion, all of the religions are losing practicing members. A number of Catholics might still consider themselves Catholics, but not be practicing Catholics. And I think that's due to many things, including the very secular culture that we're living in now.
I want to just take it down to a more personal level. You reach 75, you're required to submit essentially your resignation to the Vatican. And
Yes.
Right now you're just kind of waiting to see who the Pope selects. Tell me a little bit about what you're going through right now.
Well, I feel somewhat comfortable living in ambiguity. And I know, as you mentioned, when we turn 75, before that date, we must submit our resignation to the Holy Father, who appoints us and who can accept the resignation. And a process begins in which the delegates of the Holy Father in our country, the Papal Nuncio, for example, in Washington, begins a process looking for the next bishop of the Diocese of Gary. And I assume that process has been going on, and I thought it might have been over by now, but it isn't. My plan for the future is to continue living. I live in Miller in Gary, and I would continue living there and make myself available to assist in parishes as there is need. So in one sense, you'd like to know, well, when will it happen? But on the other sense, I think it's good to live with ambiguity and put it in the hands of the Lord and relax.
That has been your job.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's where we're going to leave it. Bishop Dale Melczek, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you very much, Steve.